Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and today I am going to do a heat transfer project. I am going to make just like a little treat bag. It's a little dust cover bag that's made of canvas and super cute little drawstring bag. I love this SVG from Printable, Cuttable, Creatables. It's a candy corn that says, "It's okay, I don't like you either." Which is hilarious, I think. So what I've done is I've brought in the assembled file and you can see it's all kind of layered up and you can very clearly see how this is meant to look as the fully assembled graphic. What I am going to do is rejigger these layers so that I have a minimum number of elements to actually cut out. This is going to be a heat transfer project, and there's pretty much only 4 colors in this design. So my goal is to just have 4 basically cuts that I need to then transfer to my design. And I do also want to try to minimize the number of layers of vinyl that I have to transfer. The way that I'm going to approach this is that if the black layer was just that full shadow layer, that's gonna go onto my project first and will be underneath everything, kind of like how you see it layered here. From this orange layer, so instead of cutting out the sentiment from a separate piece of black and then layering it onto a solid orange layer like you see here, what I'm gonna do instead is use the Cricut Design Space feature where you can combine different shapes in different ways. And the way that what I will do is combine the sentiment with this orange layer, which is like just another shadow layer essentially. But I'm gonna combine it in a way where I'm not adding the two together, rather I'm subtracting the letters out of the orange layer. So it's basically going to cut the letters out of that orange layer. And the effect that will have is that the black layer that is underneath it will be visible. It's going to give you a different look because the letters then look recessed instead of it looking raised. But I'm just fine with that because then it minimizes the number of layers of vinyl that keep getting stacked on top of, one on top of the next. So here you can see I've combined It's Okay. And when you do the subtraction, it creates this folder for you. And everything that is on top gets subtracted out of the bottommost layer. So whatever I want to subtract from that layer of orange, I can just continue to add it to that subtract folder and it will just take it out of that middle layer. So I hit make it just so that I can preview the cuts. And so here you can see I've got another layer of orange, a second orange piece that I don't need because I have a big block of orange. I just need to make sure that I have all of the orange elements represented there, and anything that's not orange, I need to make sure I can weed it out. So that's going to be my next little edit to the SVG file. I want to be able to merge these two elements so that I can get it in one cut. And then when I go to do the heat transferring, I'm going to transfer essentially everything that you see as orange. It's almost like when the screen printed t-shirts designs are made. Usually it's one color at a time. They'll put another stencil or another screen and then scrape the next color through that screen. And I want to essentially do something similar where each layer, each cut has everything for just that color on there. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that the orange layer has the bottom of the candy corn and the top of the candy corn cut away from it, which would just leave that middle section. And then I want to make sure that the yellow layer, that one is already fine. That only has the yellow layer, so that works just fine. But the white of the candy corn, that layer is actually the entire shape of the candy corn. So what I want to do with that is I actually want to cut out the middle portion from the white layer and as well cut out the bottom portion from the white layer. Now here's something that I realized as I was doing this. If you copy and paste a layer, it doesn't actually paste it in the exact same location where the original one was copied. So as a result, what happened was I copied the middle layer of the candy corn in order to subtract it from the white layer. But when I went to go line this up again, it didn't quite line up perfectly as it was originally designed because I had to move that layer to where I wanted it. And while it looks close enough, when I go to make this in a bit, you'll see that there's going to be a lot of residual stuff that is in addition to the top layer of that candy corn. And I just want the layer of the candy corn that actually is white. I don't want I don't want to have to layer on more things on top of the white. So that's why I'm doing this subtraction process to get rid of everything on that white layer that actually isn't meant to be visible anyways. So that also saves me in vinyl too, because then I'm not having to use a vinyl that is just going to get covered up anyhow. So I find that this does take a little bit of extra time to reconfigure things, move things around a little, group things a little bit differently, combine things a little bit differently. But in the end, what I'm trading off for is saving a little bit on the actual vinyl itself because you use a lot less of it. And then as well, making the heat transfer process a little bit more simple too. Because then instead of positioning a lot of little things, I just need to position essentially 4 layers. So as I was saying with that white layer, if you just copy and paste a layer, you can see here how off it is. You can see that ghosting around the eyes, and the bottom section still has some rough alignment to it. So that's not looking the way that I want. I just want the top of that candy corn, just what is actually visible in white. So what I realized is that I think by copying and pasting and then having to realign everything, I just did the alignment wrong. So what I did to fix that was, this is the beauty of working with digital files. If you make some edits to something and you didn't mean to make those edits, or you found that they weren't the right things, you can always just go get yourself a new copy. So that's what I did, was I just brought in another copy of the original design. I'm going to delete from this grouping the things that I don't need. And the beauty of it is that it will have everything already perfectly lined up as the designer originally created it. So I can just pull out the layers that I need, and it doesn't matter where these things are on your canvas. When you go to make it, Cricut is going to just group things by layer, and everything that's the same color will get cut out of the same during the same pass. And so the actual positioning doesn't matter except for when I'm trying to do this, where I'm actually trying to subtract one shape from another. And for some reason, the bottom one still is off. The middle one lined up perfectly, but the bottom one is still off. But here's a neat trick. If I'm trying to cut off that entire bottom portion or subtract that entire bottom portion from the white layer of the candy corn, here's what I did. I just drew myself a little rectangle, and I am just going to subtract that rectangle from that candy corn. So you can see here, I'm positioning it so that it completely blocks off the bottom. I'm going to drag it into the subtract folder, and now it will subtract everything. And now look, I've just got that little triangle of white. And each of the 4 colors that I have, they have essentially just the one piece that I'll need. And when I go to do the heat transferring, it's going to be so much faster and so much easier to line up. So it might take a little bit of extra time to do all of that, relayering and stuff, but I think it's worth it. For me, it's worth it just because it's going to save time on the actual heat transfer, and it's going to save me a little bit of vinyl too. Also, I don't know how well thick and multiple layers of vinyl holds up as compared to fewer layers. So ultimately, that was also another consideration because I basically only have at most 2 layers of vinyl. I've got the black layer, the orange, and then the orange, yellow, and white layer. They are all adhered directly onto the black layer. So those are all flush with each other. So this is only a 2-layer vinyl design, and I hope that means that it is a firmer stick and will hold up a little bit better over time. So once everything's been cut, this piece here, this orange piece, it's really the only one that requires any weeding. Everything else is solid. And what I like to do is I'll occasionally bring on the layer beneath it and just hold this up to the black layer beneath it, just to make sure I can see the design as it's progressing, because sometimes it can be a little bit hard to identify what pieces need to stay and what pieces do I need to remove. But here everything is weeded, and I like to do this preview just so I can make sure that the design looks the way that I think it should and that I understand what layers go where, and also that should help me to keep organized as to the order that I need to apply the heat transfer. So I ironed my little canvas baggie just to make sure there's no wrinkles, everything's nice and flat. Also, it warms it up a little bit, so it helps the vinyl to just have an initial grab, and that way it doesn't slide around. And what you want to do is flip this upside down so that the vinyl is touching the canvas and the plastic transfer sheet is on top. But even with the plastic transfer sheet on top, I'm still going to use this this mat here. It's a silicone kind of a heat mat, so it's going to protect your heat press. In this case, this adorable little mini heat press. I picked this up during the big day sale or big deal sale on Amazon Prime. Oh my gosh, this is the most adorable thing. It was 40% off, making it $16. And I have a big heat press that's 12 by 12 and is a really nice one. with temperature controls and timers and everything, but this little one is really cute. I can just do little projects here at my desk. It's easy to film it too, so that I can show it to you and have tutorials. And it was only $16. It was such an incredibly good deal. And I did a little bit of research to make sure that it's, from a notable brand and that it works well. And I saw nothing but good reviews. It's from HTV Ront, and I use their vinyl. So I figure, if I trust their vinyl, I trust that a lot of YouTube content creators had wonderful things to say about it. There were some direct comparisons to the Cricut's mini press, and it's comparable. It's actually got a larger surface area. So now that I've got all of my vinyl on, I'm going to do a final press where it's just my heat mat here on top of the vinyl. And I am adding some pressure, because on my big machine, it's not just the heat, but it does also clamp down and provide some pressure. So I did push down a little bit, and this was such a fun project. See, the actual heat transfer part was so easy. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and if you want to see more Cricut tutorials, more heat press projects, let me know in the comments. I know it's a little bit different from my card making, but if you enjoy these kinds of tutorials, I can definitely aim to do more of them. Thanks for catching this one, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye!